That's
Wh-
right.
I'm still the flooring is amazing. Good tiling.
This is uh this is circa lots of party time. I don't really know when that was. This was on a hot tub day we were doing at Brent's house in Los Angeles when he had his house there. And it was me and Barry and our former drum tech Bear, and I think Brent was there and Teresa was there. But yeah, this was those were some Shinedown hot shorts we were selling at the merch booth, and I had no bathing suit, and I think those belonged to Teresa, and she just gave them to me to wear. So how about that?
Damn,
Soak
look
it
at
in,
that.
soak it in. I figure every once in a while I can give the people what they want, which is
Thirst traps.
a little thirst. Former Eric Bass thirst traps.
Yep.
Be ready to be disappointed in three, two, one. Yeah.
God, age is just a cruel, cruel
It
man.
is, man. I mean, I was in my 30s in that picture.
What would it take for you to physically, in terms of like working out, get into that type of shape again?
I just have to stop eating.
Was that what that was? Just like a very like younger, hungry rock star? Just
Oh, dude, no, we were just like, I mean, I can. The thing is you get older, you hang on to muscle, right? And it's hard to be skinny, and that's what's happened to me now. Is not that I have a lot of muscle, but uh, I mean, that was at a time. Most of my life, I was between 100 and well, after my fat kid phase of school, I guess once I started exercising and running. I mean, one thing I was doing at that time was running all the time. Like I was a runner, so I kind of kept that runner body. But I was when I was running, I was somewhere between 145 pounds and 155 pounds at all times. Um, and then when we were making attention, I decided to put on some muscle, and I got like 180 pounds, like muscle. Uh, and I mean, I'm only 5'7.5", 5'8", something like that. So,
yep.
uh, and then once you put that muscle on, man, you're just gonna be, I'm gonna kind of be chunky, I guess, the rest of my life or whatever this is. But no, I could get back there. I would just have to, I'd have to do a lot of sprint running, like running sprints. And I mean, I did that really, at one point I was really unhealthy about working out, when I first started losing weight. Cause I mean, dude, I was over 200 pounds at one point, and
Jesus.
I I looked at myself, and this is before cell phones. I mean, not before cell phones, but before iPhones, where you had pictures constantly of yourself.
Yeah.
Uh, and uh, so I, sorry, I'm like, I've been up since 5 o'clock, but I feel like I've been up for 2 minutes, so I apologize. This is going to be a riveting episode. Uh, but I think my understanding at the time, what I was told, everybody was like, you're too skinny, you're too skinny. And I was skinnier than that. I mean, I got down like, uh, I was like 135 at one point. And, of course I didn't think I was too skinny because I've been kind of big my whole life, but again, sorry, let me go back. I was talking about how I was big, and I just remembered I saw a picture of myself because it wasn't like it is now where you see pictures of yourself everywhere all the time. And there's a picture of Kelly and I at her mom's restaurant. Her mom owned a restaurant in downtown Charleston for quite a few years. There's a picture of us, and I had like four chins, and then a couple of days later, I was standing in the mirror and I just had this big gut, and I was like, I'm done with this. So literally the next day I tried to run. I was never a runner or anything. Uh, and I mean, I hadn't always been that big, but I'd gotten that big. Uh, and I tried to run a mile. I was like, I'm gonna go run a mile. So I knew a mile with the place we lived at the time around the loop was a
Yep.
mile. And I got about a quarter mile and thought I was gonna perish. So I just walked the rest of the way. And then I realized, okay, this running thing isn't going to work out at the gate. So I had a mountain bike. So at the time, like if we rode from where our house was at the time out to the beach, like all the way to the beach, the end of the over the bridge to the beach and back to the house was 6 miles. Uh, And so I started doing that on the bike. I had a mountain bike and a purple bike helmet, and I was this fat kid on a purple with this purple bike helmet on, mountain bike out to the beach and back. And then I realized if I went out to the beach and I turned all the way, took a left and went all the way down to the end of the beach and then back to the house, that was like 20 miles. And so I started doing that on the bike. And then I realized at some point, I was like, oh, I might be able to run again. So then I started running that route out to the beach and back, which was 6 miles, really slowly, and just worked it up from there. And then I got to a point where I cut the run down to 3.5 miles, but it was fast. Like I got to a point where I could do, I mean, again, this isn't like all that impressive, but if you think about the fact that
Where you
I'm
came
pretty,
from too, though, right?
I'm pretty short. Uh, I was getting, I was probably averaging a 7 minute mile and I could run a 6.5 minute mile. So, that's pretty good. But I just got what I was doing is I was doing that. So I was running and I was obsessed with it. Sometimes I'd do it twice a day, the run. And, cause I mean, for the first time in my life, I'm like skinny, skinny. And like, I feel better about myself, but it got unhealthy because I was doing that. And the only thing I was consuming during the day would be like a bagel and a couple of coffees, you know. And so that is technically, if you look at like at the time, what I was told is that is the definition of male anorexia, which is overexercise, undereat. Um, so I don't know.
One of the topics someone actually submitted the other,
I'm not saying I was completely anorexic, but I was doing that thing for a while,
yeah,
you know.
someone submitted like bunch of people sent a bunch of topics for us to cover, and one of the topics you kind of hinted at was like our thoughts on toxic, like healthy people that are like trying to lose weight or do some diet. Like, what point does it become too toxic when you're chasing your goals? That's what
Toxic.
they. So people were citing like the toxicity that comes with CrossFit gyms or people that are working out 3 times a day where it's actually to the point where it's hurting them, or like where do you draw the line between toxic working out and fitness versus like safely and meeting your goals you have, whether it's a 6 month goal, a year goal, and so on.
That's complicated. You said something about the toxicity of a CrossFit gym. I don't see it that way. Like it's a culture of, and I
Like-minded people.
by the way,
Yeah.
I buy into this 1,000% because I have this type of mentality, right?
Yep.
Again, this is such an individualistic thing. Uh, so I don't know if it's toxic or not. It becomes toxic when you begin talking trash to other people. That's toxic, right?
Yes.
But if you're in your environment, uh, like I always encourage people if they're going to look for a gym, find a gym where they feel at home, whatever that means,
Yeah.
because you can't accomplish what you want to accomplish if you're not in a place that feels
Harbor safe and fun, conducive.
whatever that means.
Yeah.
But if you go if look if you go into a CrossFit gym, you're going to walk into a lion's den full of people
Oof.
who are pushing themselves to the limit, and they're going to push you to the limit. And if that's not what you want, that's not toxic. Uh that's just not for you. Like I thrive in those places.
Yeah.
Like in fact, I think that's part of my fitness problem now is I work out by myself. I mean, my buddy Steve, my friend down the street, he'll exercise with me this time of year usually because he has a dock building business, so they're not super busy this time of year. And so and he does not like getting up early, but so he'll join me sometimes for a run or for a workout or something. But I miss the gym culture. I haven't been a member of a gym in quite some time. Uh, I need that. That I need a pack of wild dogs around me, and I need to be a wild dog and push other people. Like that to me is fun. I enjoy group workouts, like a CrossFit type thing where you have the workout of the day
Yeah.
everyone's it's written on a chalkboard and everybody's got to do the same thing. And some people will finish faster than others, but
You're still a
nobody
team.
nobody leaves until the last person's done. That kind of thing. Like I love that. There are other people who would, again, I think that's unfair to call that toxic. Um, like it what can be toxic, and I think is unintentionally toxic, is when those types of personalities, and I use the term, I don't know how I feel about the word toxic.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean
it's,
that's just what was asked
well,
of
no,
us. Yeah,
yeah, sure. I just think it's overused.
I
Um,
think there's a lack of understanding with people that don't might not feel like they fit in, so they assume it's got to be a toxic place because they don't fit in, which not
right.
correct.
Yeah, but so let's not use toxic uh, where it can become, oh, what's the word? Uh, um, not beneficial. How about that?
Yep.
Where it can become not beneficial is what I see sometimes online, where someone who is a CrossFit person or they are a hard nose like me, like they have that kind of mentality of you just have to push yourself through the pain and push yourself past where you think you can go, like the David Goggins type thing. When those people uh, just assume that like they've got it all figured out and they figured out what works for them, right? And look, it will work for anybody. If anybody applies themselves to this stuff, they will get in shape. They will become a monster in a good way, like a physical, uh, dialed in type of person. But when I see some of these Instagram sites and some of these people that it's with hustle culture too. Same thing, just hustle, just hustle, just hustle, and get out there and do this. And all you have to do is do these 5 things, and you'll be successful. And it's the same thing with fitness. Do these 5 things, and you know. And some people aren't made to digest it like that, so it comes off as shouty and loud. That's where we get the term that people like to use, toxic masculinity, right? It's
Yeah.
I don't believe that's what it is. It's just masculinity. It's just some people receive it better than others, you know. Because I could say the same thing about femininity, toxic femininity coming at me,
Yeah.
telling me that, that I'm not enough if I'm not 6 feet tall and make 6 figures and what is it,
Carry all the groceries in one hand.
what is it? The 3 6s. Women say now they want 6 figures, 6 feet tall and 6 inches. That's like the thing, you know.
Yeah, we're not sure what
Uh,
the inches are though.
yeah,
That's the
right.
kick.
That's a big toe for
Big
sure.
thumb. Big
Yeah,
thumb. I
but
think.
that, but
Yeah.
again, I could perceive that as toxic femininity, right? But that's just
Yeah.
a preference, and they're saying that's their preference. So I don't see it as toxic. It's just, if you are not, look, man, if you're in a bad place, everything feels toxic. Everything feels like it's flying at you. Uh, and That's not to say that people don't have ill intention. That's a whole different discussion. And I mean, maybe we could zone in on that and say that that is toxic. Like I say, it's toxic when people are actively coming after other people.
Yep.
That's different, you know. Um, but I think that fitness, to take it back around to where we were, because that was what people were wanting to talk about, was like toxic fitness type thing. Um, you just have to find the right place for you, and there's nothing wrong with, like, I know that a lot of um you know I, I'm going to use the term CrossFit because I can't think of anything better. People who go to CrossFit gyms or are involved in
Yeah.
in that sort of thing, they'll sort of give Planet Fitness a hard time, right? Because Planet Fitness
Don't
doesn't
clang
want you,
weights.
don't
Don't.
clang weights. But the
Yeah.
thing is, man, it's like, if that's where you need to be to feel comfortable and get in shape, then I'm all for it. It might not be where I would thrive,
Yep.
uh, but that doesn't mean that it's wrong or bad or anything else. And so when people start coming after people that go to Fitness or this, and people that go to Planet Fitness or that, that's toxic. The reverse is the same. People from Planet Fitness who, I don't like the fact that on Planet Fitness on their
Screaming.
wall, it says like lunk alarm, right? Like if you make any noise at all pushing a weight up, which you have to do sometimes if you're really pushing yourself, that this alarm goes off and they call you out, and it's like, well, that's toxic too, you know,
Yep.
just in a different way. So that's why I've chosen to never go to Planet Fitness, because I don't even want to be put in
Yeah.
that situation. Uh, I think it's just culture. I think it's what you're looking for. If and so the great thing about planet Earth and about human beings is you can find your tribe. All you have to do is look.
Yeah.
They're out there, you know. Um,
I remember when going through the Secret Service stuff in 2007, 2008, that's kind of when the first time I ran across what CrossFit was. The Department of Homeland Security, Secret Service, FBI, Bureau of Prisons, they all started to adopt the idea of CrossFit, like Team Barbara, the kipping pull-ups, the hand cleans, all that type of CrossFit stuff. And so obviously you have to have some sort of physical to get to that level. And I've always played college sports and high school and all that stuff. And so a bunch of us, there's 2 or 3 in our class that were very familiar with CrossFit. That's what their sport was.
Mm.
And the bunch of us that were more like I'm not going to say like the jocks, but like the people that could pick up a basketball and football and play with anyone in our group level. And we do all the workouts and stuff, and the instructors would be like, "This CrossFit's the way. This is how we're gonna do it. This is fitness in the 21st century." And we're kind of like, I love the team building of it. I love like carrying the fire log, like the telephone pole, and you got to rotate the sandbags, like all the cool atmospheric of like teamwork. But then I always got a chuckle of it because they were so vocal about it that we would then go do like a flag football or pick up basketball or baseball or an actual traditional sport, and we'd mop the floor with these people. And it wasn't even comparable. And so we'd always look at each other just like, we whipped the shit out of you. And so it's like one of those things where it's like my first experience to that was, hold on a second. I grew up on push-ups, sit-ups, running, made sports. Let's go.
Yeah.
And you introduced this new thing to me. Then as I get older and I go through the training and realize I'm actually working on different parts of my body I never worked out before.
Right.
And injuries disappeared and stuff like that. So it's like, my biggest problem with CrossFit, I think, was the rollout. Because there's a lot of controversy. Was the original guy, right?
I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything.
I think something happened with the guy, and like he was doing like these box gym things, and something. I'll confirm it, but I just think the rollout of it, because the traditional gym. But then you look at, imagine going up in the 70s or 80s at Gold's Beach in Venice. Like, how intimidating that would be as just a normal dude.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's no different than I mean, anywhere that there is well, you're going to be intimidated anywhere where you see people that are doing high level things that you don't think you can do, that you don't think you can accomplish. The difference is now I'm not saying that everyone is equal in talent and everyone is equal in physical ability, but if you apply yourself, you can get within a range of that, and you can be in that environment and accepted in that environment if that's what you want to do.
Right.
There's just the the price of admission is how much effort you're willing to put into it. But that is anything. That's anything. It's anything that you want to do is going to have that sort of thing. So, but it's I think that and look, some people are going to think this is, I don't mean for this to come off as not empathetic or something. By the way, I apologize again for my brain not wanting to work this morning. I literally, John, when I text you about like, let's just go ahead and like, cause we're gonna do this at a certain time, and I'm like, I'm gonna grab some coffee because I was reading and I fell asleep reading, and so that's when I was like, okay, I just need to get with John and let's go, because I'll sleep the day away. Just sitting in this chair, I was literally sitting here. Anyway, what I was going to say is I'm not trying to sound not empathetic about it, but I think that especially when it comes to physical things, some people have a tendency to feel bad about themselves, and they project that onto other people. And so the people who are in shape and are doing the thing are seen as bullies or, bad people, I guess, is a better way of putting it. So, or is a way of putting it, not a better way. So I think that as a society, we have to stop looking at people who have achieved and who want to share that achievement with other people by inspiring them or pushing them, even if it is loud and raucous and seems militaristic or whatever. I honestly think it comes from a place of, you can do this too, and that's, to me, is the beautiful thing about a CrossFit environment, or a a gym that has like Zoom class, what are the Zumba classes,
Zumba. What's the
we should
yeah.
rush classes
Yeah,
is
yeah.
what the gym I belong to a gym here. I did belong to a gym here for a long time called Ethos, and it's really good, man.
Is that
It's just
Dino's gym?
yeah, yes, that's
Yeah.
where he's at. Yeah. A guy named Joey Welling started that gym, and I've been really super proud of him, man. He's one of those people. He's very driven, to make his dreams happen. But they do rush classes there, which is 3-4 times a day, maybe 5 times a day. They have classes, and it's a 45-minute workout with a room full of people, and you're doing assault bikes and row machines and burpees and all this difficult stuff. But the thing is men and women are in these classes, and we're all doing the same workout, and it's just as difficult on each person. Is going through the you're having a uh, a shared experience of
Right.
of feeling like you're gonna die, you know, and everyone's encouraging everybody else in that room. That's that's what the people from the outside who look at a CrossFit type situation don't see. They don't see the camaraderie. They don't see the lifting each other up. They don't see any of that. It's the same thing as like a Spartan race. Like
Yes.
I know Kent, uh, Kent Sinkler, our merch coordinator, did some Spartan races, and he was getting me into it. I got injured trying to train for one, so I
Oh,
never really ended up doing one. I uh, I trained. I was really training up to do one. Still never done one, but that if you used to be able to watch them on TV, they would
yeah.
broadcast them, and watching everyone there, like I said, it's a shared experience. It sucks just as much for everyone, and but everyone is cheering everybody else on. These people when they get done with these races, they wait at the finish line for some people wait for everybody to come across just to cheer people on, or they'll stop at a certain obstacle and cheer people on before they keep going. And that I love that, man. That's really good. So these are the things that don't get seen in the as much by the public in the fitness world.
Do you think that
Um,
mindset? I mean, throw that mindset to where you watch everyone start and finish the race together, where you're headlining a festival and all the opening acts are hanging out for the headliner. Like it's
yeah.
just not.
Oh,
It's just not. These different industries just aren't. It'd be such an interesting thing to see if you start something, whether it's a festival or a meeting or a work day, and then the last person leaving the office sees everyone else there waiting for
yeah.
him.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the office because I would almost posit that there's more toxicity in an office than there is in a
Yes.
gym.
Yes.
People want to get ahead of everybody else. And
Talk shit.
so you don't have that in a gym. You don't, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't people. There are people who come into who can be assholes in a gym. Don't get me wrong. There are people who are douchey, and they are usually asked to leave the gym, if they've got that kind of air about them. But yeah, in an office situation or in a work situation, people are jockeying for position and want to get ahead of each other, and uh, it's the opposite of that. I found it in workout spaces. It's about encouraging each other and pushing each other. And like I said, if you're not of the mindset of wanting to accept someone, it's very military, right? It's if you're not of the mindset of wanting someone to be loud with you and push you through something, then that's not the environment for you. Like again, I thrive in that. I thrive in a situation where it's loud, and I have to be the interesting thing about those environments as well is you're in a loud environment, usually with music going or people yelling, and uh there are all these other individuals around you. And so it's like, for example, in a rush class, it's 45 minutes. So an example would be there might be 10 different stations of exercise. So you got, let's say you have, bicep curls, burpees, sprints on the treadmill, sprints on a on a assault bike, and ball slams where you take like 20-pound balls and you're just slamming them down into the ground. And every 45 seconds you switch, but each one of those stations might have 5 or 6, people at the time. So you pick where you want to start. I might want to start with ball slams. Got some psychology to it because you look around the room and you go, okay, well, I have to do this and then this and then this in that order. So what do I want to do first?
Right, right.
Just to kind of get rolling. And some people like to jump right in onto a sprint on a treadmill. Some people want to jump right in on a bike. Some people want to start with bicep curls because it kind of gets them warmed up. But you pick where you want to start, and you're kind of going from station to station with your group throughout. And there might be 20 or 30 people in the room doing this. But so it's loud and you have other people right next to you doing the same thing. But what's interesting is it is a group thing, but then I love the fact that I have to go inside of myself in that moment and push myself internally too. So I have the inspiration of the environment around me, but the discipline and the real inspiration of my inner voice, almost having to block out that stuff in certain moments to push through. Because the interesting thing is in those group situations, you find you push yourself further than you would by yourself. Probably just because it's a social experiment and there are other people around and you don't want to be the one who can't do the thing that everyone else did. Uh, and so I found myself in those rush classes just to where like I've had to go vomit in the middle of them because I pushed myself so hard, uh, which is not a normal thing for me. I don't know if I don't think I've ever pushed myself to a point of needing to vomit on a workout where I'm doing it
Have
by
you
myself.
ever, what's the equivalent for you mentally in terms of pushing yourself too far mentally? I mean, you can't throw up your brain. I mean, maybe you could, but
Um,
is it burnout? Is it like a fatigue, like a
well,
weird?
that's a different thing. I mean, I don't think that in a workout I'm not going to be able to you find out interesting things about yourself in a workout environment where it's a difficult workout, but you just have to get through it. You find out that you're capable of more. And that's what CrossFit is about. That's what rush classes are about. That's what the gym is about, right? It's about that. It's it's oh, I can do way more than I thought I could do. Uh, and so that's the thing that the CrossFit people want to share with everyone too. That again, that when it gets perceived as toxic or something, maybe. Uh, and I'm, that's the CrossFit world as a whole. I'm not talking about individuals who might be
Yeah.
just assholes. Uh, that's different. I don't ever find myself mentally burning. Now, yeah, it's not too much of a mental burnout thing for me at that point. I can generally push my brain through anything physical. Uh, my brain's driving my body through it. I'm not saying that I don't get tired, but I don't ever feel mentally drained. Um, you talk about burnout. I mean, that's the stuff I get when I'm working on creative things or whatever. Uh, and it's a whole different kind of tired.
Is the tire different when when comparing your solo art project stuff that you've been talking about versus in a room with the three other band guys in Shinedown? Is it that type of when you have three other people that might not agree with you, they're there to be with you in the process. When it's just you, do you feel you get more tired? Like the stuff you're talking about happens more when it's just you?
Um, both. I mean, there's anxiety with writing in a room with other people because you want to be brilliant all the time. You want to be, you want to be the one that comes up with the most insane melody
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
greatest lyric or whatever. And it's not a competition, but like you're put, I mean, at least I do. You know, you're not going to have it every day. That's one good thing about writing with other people is the days that you don't have it, someone else is going to have it. It's the problem is the days that you don't have it, you feel like you didn't earn your money in a way, but then they're going to feel that way tomorrow when we're working on something else. And maybe they don't have it because they contributed so much the day before. And now it's my turn to pick up the baton and kind of carry it and move forward. Um, and there's also the anxiety of like, I don't enjoy, uh, so when you're in a songwriting session, generally, this isn't always the case, but generally there's one person in the room who's going to begin making a track, right? So you can have a demo. And you've had the guitar, you've written the kind of the melodies, you sort of know where you're going. Now it's time to sort of build the track. So you start with drums or you start with a a keyboard sound or whatever, and you just build this track up. I don't like doing that in front of people. I don't like being the track guy in the session in front of other people. I'd rather just build a track by myself,
Yeah, here it
you
is,
know.
guys. Yeah.
Well, right, because I feel like and even though they're not, I feel like people are judging me while I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Um, So that's easier for me, but working by myself. The bad thing about working by myself is that there are days when I wish I had someone else in the room to kind of get me over a hump or get me through
Yeah.
something that I'm stuck on. Uh, so it's a slower process writing by yourself. Um, but the yeah, well, I don't know, man. Mental burnout is I push myself past diminishing returns just about every day in the studio to where I have to say, okay, I should have stopped 2 hours ago yesterday because I listen to what I finished with and I'm like, yeah, everything I did the last 2 hours is terrible, so I just erase it and start again from the point that I should have stopped. And that's maybe something that's good about writing with other people. Maybe they don't let you get to that diminishing returns point or past it, you know.
Yeah.
So, uh, but yeah, I think that if there is anyone out there who thinks that or they've had experiences where they think that the fitness world is toxic, they just haven't been in the right place.
Yeah.
And again, the gym that I'm talking about that has the rush classes and everybody's in the room and all this stuff going on. I mean, look, there are obviously people in that gym that I see who are, obsessed with their appearance and all of these things. And it gets clicky. It's just like everything else, that kind of stuff's gonna happen. But I've seen beautiful things happen in that place too. One of my favorite things I ever saw happen was there was and one thing about the gym too, and I've talked about this in interviews, and this goes back to what I was about to say. Uh, so I will continue that is the gym is the great equalizer. So if you've never done a workout before, if you're in a gym and you have two people at machines next to each other, you have one gentleman who has never he's just the first day at the gym. He's never tried to do the gym before, and he's on a treadmill. And there's a woman next to him, and she is a triathlete, and she's on the treadmill next to him because this kind of stuff is going to happen in the gym. If she is pushing herself at 100% and he's pushing himself at 100%, they're both just as tired. They're both just as spent. They're both just as mentally taxed and have to push themselves through it. Uh, I love that. I love the fact that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your fitness level is, what your color, creed, religion, none of that stuff. If you're in there, if you are in a gym and you are pushing yourself as hard as you can, then you feel the same thing that a high performing athlete feels
Yeah.
doing pushing themselves at 100%. So I just remember being in the gym and there was this woman in there. And it was her. She had just come in to look at the gym. She just wanted to see it, and she was probably in her early 60s, I would imagine, late 50s, early 60s. Mom jeans on, you
Yep.
know, uh, not in gym garb, right? Not dressed for the gym at all. And I think she decided that day that she wanted to try a workout. And so one of the trainers was in there with her, and she had a 5 pound weight in each hand, and there was a box, a wooden box that she could step up onto, but the box was only about 8 inches high, and she was just doing box step ups with these two 5 pound weights, so with 10 pounds, and she's stepping up onto the box and stepping down, and stepping up onto the box and stepping down, and she's getting really winded really fast, and she's just like and she can tell that she's like struggling through it,
Yeah.
and about three or four other people, very fit people, some of them I knew, some of them I didn't, at the gym, I watched this happen, rallied around her and started encouraging her, just like I was talking about in the CrossFit gym.
Yeah. Let's go.
Come
Let's
on,
go. Yeah.
one more, you got this, you got this, you got this. And I watched those people push her through her first workout, and she became a member of the gym, and she'd come in there every day after
That's
that.
great.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if she would have done that had that not happened, right? So what is perceived as toxic, this whole "you got one more," this loud thing is there for encouragement, and
Yeah.
and
I love
so
it.
so
I,
so I would ask people, again, not someone being an asshole, that's different, But just if you're looking at the fitness culture as a whole and calling it toxic, I think that's pretty unfair. I think you need to uh, uh, maybe just look at it through a different lens, a lens of, it is about that. It's team building. It's striving to be better than you were the day before. And by the way, it is, that kind of stuff is contagious. And if you can get into a gym, if you've never not gone to a gym because you're worried about that, you have to find the right gym. You have to find the place where you feel at home. That's very
Shop for it.
important.
Yeah.
You have to, it's very important. Go to several gyms and you'll find one, you know, usually the mom and pop gyms are a great place to go. That's what Ethos is. Uh, and Ethos formerly was a place called Exemplar, uh, the gym that I go to, and it was a smaller place. Now it's this giant facility, but uh, the culture is still feels the same, to me. But you might go into a Gold's Gym and it might not be for you, and you might try Planet Fitness and that might feel a little funky, but you might walk into a mom and pop place and it might be perfect for you, and you might find the people that you enjoy being around. And the thing is that stuff will become, it will, that drive, if you get into that world, will seep into everything else in your life. And uh, it will start to affect your work in a positive way, and your friendships in a positive way, and your health by, obviously in a positive way. I'm in that place right now where I need to do something. I need to make a change of some sort. I mean, I worked out this morning, I did my thing, but I miss that. I miss that culture of that push. And unfortunately, I live out here on the island, and I'm uh you know at least 40, I'm probably 45 minutes away from Ethos now. They moved to downtown Charleston. So
Yep.
uh but anyway, yeah, that's it. As far as toxic fitness culture, that's what I would say.
I loved like all the coaches and stuff that would scream. Like I loved that environment where it's just like,
As long as it's from a good place,
yeah,
you
no,
know.
it's because they care. They know you can do better. It's like I like that. Like even going when I went to military college, the screaming and all that stuff. I loved it because I was already prepared by my parents to kind of live that lifestyle. But I also love that this person's just yelling at me. They've gone through what I've gone through. They're
Hmm.
only looking out for my best interest.
Yep.
I mean, obviously there's some loose eggs every now and then
Right.
that are have ego or they're just pricks.
Yep.
But I
But
love the
that's gonna be in anything though.
right. But people that care, they're passionate, they're loud, they're not. If I was a coach and I acted like, oh, okay, cool, corrected my papers. Oh yeah, go run, guys. Come back in 20 minutes. If I was a student athlete, I'd be like, well, why am I supposed to care? Sure, I might have to only do this running or this gym thing because it's required of me. But what if I actually want to love this? Why can't I get like where's the focus? Where's the heart and like passion from these people that are leaders? That I think people want to respond to something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, so when you went to military school, were the teachers and I don't know. Again, I don't really know the
So
structure of a military school.
the teachers were all veterans or former Vermont militia. There were some civilian teachers. I did criminal justice, so all my criminal justice teachers were former prosecutors and lawyers and stuff like that in the civilian
Okay.
world, like JAG type people. But all my upper class, like student leadership, was all military based. They were all cadre. The other cadets, sophomores,
So
juniors, seniors.
shared experience, right? So they've been
Yes,
where you are,
they were
and
walking in the gutter. They
yeah,
were hazed. They were
yeah,
forced to carry these. I mean, I look back at those memories. I just laugh because it's like gun to my head. I'd go back tomorrow. I just love the team bonding. Like you're a young kid, and then you all sitting on the line, just being screamed at, being woken up at 4 in the morning for reveille, and go running and all this PT with our names. We had to draw on the back and all this marching and all this stuff. It's like we had no idea what we're doing, but
right.
after 6 months, we worked together and figure out what this game is,
Hmm.
and everything just opens up because all it is a game.
Okay. Oh, I thought you meant that it was like a literal game that you had to figure out. You're talking about the game of the whole thing.
Yeah, the game of the figuring out like where you are, mindset, physical, and just the whole idea of like what military, that type of lifestyle really is. It's not
Yeah.
all about marching and how you fold a flag or how you hold your. We had like this M4 Garringer, some rifle we had to take. It's just stuff like that where it's like we're throwing parts around the
Good.
hallway,
Glad
shining
to see you.
boots.
Glad to see you retained a lot of it.
What I retained was the idea of I make my bed every morning still. Brush my
Right.
teeth. I leave
Yep.
a hotel room. I make the bed. I clean the sink if I shave the day before.
Yep.
It's stuff like that. But respect. I still call all my neighbors and my friends' parents Mr. and Mrs.
Mm.
Those little things like that is what I pulled out of it. Once I realized why I wanted to go to school in the first place, it just made everything for me around me just so much better. Like I
Was
just
that
love,
was that your decision to do
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Okay. So you're just
uh,
maniac.
yeah.
I
I
want to go to military school. That's that like
yeah.
was that how when did that start being a goal of yours? When were you like did you start was it something you worked toward
I think
or is it
sophomore junior year. I know I want to do like law enforcement stuff, and that school was very good with law enforcement, criminology, and all that stuff. And I also wanted to be able to play sports at a D3 school. And I thought I was going there to play soccer. Something happened, recruiting, military, whatever. But I was so fast that the cross country coach said, "Okay, John, why don't you just run cross country?" And my first thought was, "That is gay. Like this is
yeah.
I
You want to you want to run across the country.
yeah,
That's what I
like
want to
I'm
do.
gonna run away from the school because this is a terrible idea."
Yeah.
But sure enough, I cross country. I became a captain sophomore year. We won 3 championships in Division 3, and I just kind of the idea of doing the military stuff, Navy ROTC, playing sports,
Yeah.
getting a great degree, and like the structure around me was just awesome.
Yeah. That's so again, you're speaking to what I'm talking about is like the camaraderie you get with people going through a shared experience is so beneficial.
And the people that failed out, like I started my freshman year, probably was 300 kids. Maybe 400, I'd say. So my graduated my senior year. Now take away deployments and stuff. People who couldn't graduate with our class. We're less than 70 people.
Wow.
They all failed out. I lost half that class freshman year just because just training, injuries,
Hmm.
mentally couldn't take it. We had people, there was this train that goes parallel to behind the college where all the fields are. People would literally jump on the trains and ride the train away out of Vermont. We have watch parties for people missing that were suicidal.
Oh
And it's
shit.
just like,
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna laugh at that, but
no, but for
that's
the first 3 months, I couldn't call home. They take
okay.
your cell phone. You have no phone in your room. I didn't have a TV in my room till I was a senior.
Wow.
So it's like stuff like that where I'm like, oh, I can have an ironing board. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, that's what they do though. The intention of the military is to break you down to your component parts and put you back together again.
Right. And we
You
built,
know.
we got together as a team, all different walks of life, black, white, female, man, gay, straight. And here's your 30 people in your platoon. You
Hmm.
got to do a Jody. You got to march together. You got to do Reveille. You got to do all this PT together. You're only as good as your weakest person. It's like all the training and stuff was very what you talked about. It was like very you. You might be the best athlete in your group, but you know what? You're no better than the last
Yeah.
athlete. So it's just I not once did I ever feel. I mean, I look back at sometimes some of the stuff now where I'm like, I don't need someone to be like, come on,
Right.
John. Like
Right.
I'm already
Yeah.
in the lead. Like I don't
Yeah.
need you. I'm
Yeah.
gonna kick your ass because I
Well, so
want to.
so this is what comes out of the of fitness culture that's helped me is what you just said is I don't need other people cheering for me. Like
Correct,
I'm
but I
cheering for myself. I want to know
correct.
because that's enough, right? Me
Right.
getting through this thing and me pushing myself through it and one foot in front of the other when my legs are tired or you know five more burpees when when I'm in failure, right? And
Yeah.
I can't even do a push up, but I'm going to get through this somehow. Like you're your own cheerleader. I mean, but
Yeah.
again, it is nice to have maybe sound like I'm contradicting myself. It is nice to have the other people around pushing you. They're not
Yeah,
cheering for you
no,
necessarily,
no,
but
but like you know, with running, you would do your own thing. You're the race for cross country or track. The race is in your head. Sure, there's different. You have to do certain things on turns and different parts of the course and stuff just to kind of your break points. But once I finished, my first reaction was to stay at the finish line or go back and run and find other teammates and kind of run alongside them or say some.
yeah,
It's like the motivational stuff we would say would be like, "You're a fucking pussy," like all this
right,
shit. Where other
totally,
college kids are like, "What the fuck? This is his own teammate." But
yeah.
it was that type of stuff that would inspire and motivate our guys to kick ass the last half a mile or whatever. Like I
Right.
love
And
that.
so if someone put a video up of that online, they'd be like, this is toxic, this is blah blah
Oh
blah. But not knowing what is happening mentally for the person, they need,
no,
that's in that that in that moment is inspiring.
yeah, and the girls that were in the military with us as well were just like there was no. You never. Yes, we ran different races because man, at that time there was only two genders. But the we only like we never felt different. Like we're
Yeah,
always we could talk shit with each other. We could break bread. We'd everything would be the same. Like we'd say the same thing I'd say to Luke, I would say to Samantha, or like
right.
there's no like filter. Like we just
Yep.
it was just I don't know. It's like I wish life was like that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. I won't say unfortunate. It takes all types, man. It does, but yeah. I mean, I think that I don't know. I don't know what I think about that. I mean, I'm with you. Like there's nothing more inspiring than having, and again, you get that in the gym culture. That's the closest thing I have to that experience that you're talking about because I was not in the military and I have not been in the military, but I'm in a room full of all different walks of life, men, women, and it is everyone is doing the same shit, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I there was one particular girl who I would follow. The Saturday rush class is always the big deal, right? They just set, but they're like large groups, like 50 people, in these Saturday classes. And there were two people in those Saturday classes that I would try to be. I wanted either this one particular woman, or it was another particular man that I would always want to be in front of me, so I could watch them doing the next exercise in front of me.
Yeah. So you had a baseline.
Well, no, 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 because this one girl, man, she was so fit, and I remember she would get to the treadmills, and she would be her sprints. She'd be doing 13-mile-an-hour sprints, and I was doing 11, 12-mile-an-hour sprints, right? But like I'd watch her do that and I'd be like, okay, just try to, my ego would get me and I'd be like, I want to do what she's doing. The other person was this gentleman, he was in his 60s and he would be in there just wiping the floor with me, dude. You know, and not an imposing person or anything, but he was just really fit. And I was like, okay, that guy's older than me, and what and he is laying it down, so I can do it too. Um, and those people were inspiring me without me ever even telling them that.
Yeah.
Again, it's just looking around the room, and so uh, it would be. I think that our society would be better if everything worked that way. The problem is the gym is not a place where you're ever really going to get ahead of anybody else, and so the only thing you really have is, can I do better than I did yesterday? So it's an inner competition in a way. Not that there weren't competitions. I mean, in the gym they have a board they'll have a monthly challenge, and they'll put everybody's time up on the
Oh yeah,
board.
it's cool. Yeah.
Whoever did, uh, what was it, the on the assault bike, you count calories up, so whoever can get, how fast can you get to 30 calories, and they put everybody's time in. uh and so you have these things every month where it's and some of the competitions would be long, like these really difficult things. um uh I'll, I'll just tell you how it's changed my mentality too, like with so David Goggins put out some challenges to people, and he had the 4x4x48 is the one that's got my attention because I feel like it's something I want to try. and talk about long competitions. And it's just a competition with yourself. There's nothing else about it, but it is you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours straight. So it's your start time, not your finish time. So you're going to, if you start at 8 o'clock, you run 4 miles, you come back 9, 10, 11, 12. At 12 o'clock, you run 4 miles again. At 4 o'clock, you run 4 miles again. And you do that for 48 hours. Middle of the night, just get up and run your, but that, the thing is like there was a point in my life where I would have just laughed and giggled at them. Like, that is insane. And no one
Yeah.
can ever do that. But it is so doable. Like, really, it's just getting your mind wrapped around it that, hey, for the next 2 days, this is my life. And, you know, sleep when you can, work when you can, kind of thing. But I don't think that's impossible anymore. you know Whereas when I was 25 or not 25, when I was 26, 27 and I weighed 200 pounds, that was the most impossible sounding thing in the world. I would probably just giggled at it and had another glass of whiskey,
Yeah.
and just so um yeah, man, it's I don't know, man. I probably have said everything I can say about this subject, but I would encourage anyone who if you have a lot of self-doubt, and I still do. I still struggle with self-doubt every day in a major way. But um again, like I said, I haven't really been in that culture like I was. And maybe and so maybe I need to get back to it because it makes me it it decreases my self-doubt. But if there's anyone out there who isn't sure about themselves or doesn't feel good about themselves and you have extra weight on you, it's not easy. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to take that first step. It's harder than taking the first step. It's harder than the first day in the gym or the first day of the workout is the second day.
Second day. Yep.
The second day is the hardest, and the third day is really tough. If you can get into the second week, you're probably going to be okay. It's
Yep.
and then after 21 days, it becomes a habit. And then it just becomes, then you start feeling better and seeing results, and then you don't want to stop because you don't want to undo what you've done. It's this really positive vicious circle that starts to happen. uh it's again it's the clear it's like going to church in some ways. It's like this uh it's just you and God.
Yeah.
you know So I don't know. I don't know
Well,
if that encourages anybody or not. But like again, if you think if you're in that place where you think it's toxic, I would at least give it a shot and try to find a home where you feel comfortable. And I think you'll be surprised.
we one of the other topics that someone sent in, and we've kind of touched upon with teamwork, but in terms of leadership, specifically, they're wondering our thoughts, and obviously this is very open ended, and we do this for fucking 100 episodes. But the idea of famous leaders and why they failed eventually, or like the downfall of like famous, and they said it like Napoleon and Alexander. But I mean, I've always been fascinated with that, where it's like someone that's perceived as like who's a great American leader that we would on paper someone pointed to? Abraham Lincoln, Washington. Is that someone we
What
would point to?
I mean, I think so. I mean, are we talking military leaders or are
Or
we
anyone, just
talking
in general,
like
famous military historical leaders that I would assume would come from the military background or
yeah, I mean,
involved in some sort of tactical.
yeah, yeah, I mean George Washington is a good one because he failed quite often. Um, you know, Look, man, the when you talk about leaders, I think that we see their well, we put leaders up on a pedestal and we deify them in a way, like they're infallible, like they're extra
Untouchable.
human,
Yeah.
untouchable, extra human, like uh and we forget that they're just like us. And so when they what we when they do fail or they fail and we perceive them as failing maybe, it maybe what we see as failure isn't failure in that sense, because we've just held them up so high on this pedestal that they're infallible and they can't, you know, we heroes are a dangerous thing, you know, um, because they will let you down at some point, and there will be it's going to happen. If you follow someone closely enough, long enough, they're going to say something you don't like, or say something you don't agree with, or you're going to see the human side of them that, and you don't want to see that. Tiger Woods comes to mind, right? With everyone, he was just this hero to everyone, hero to everyone, hero to everyone, and then he has this situation with his
X.
family, and
Yeah.
yeah, and all of a sudden people just are ripping him to shreds, like they did that, like they never expected him to be a human being. Michael Jordan, you know, I mean, on the basketball court, man, I don't think there's ever been, or ever, I can't say there ever will be, um, but just someone who changed the game. Like the game of basketball before Michael Jordan and the game of basketball after Michael Jordan are two different things.
Correct.
Uh, Yet, and I don't know him, but he's had gambling issues, and some people say he can be kind of short with them and whatnot. I don't know. But again, you're asking the man to not be human. You're asking him to just be this basketball guy,
Yeah.
and that's not what it is. And so, um, when you look at military leaders, when you talk about Napoleon or something, I think that uh I mean, this is really broad, and I don't know if it holds up but I think that like military leaders, political leaders, people like that. I mean, the thing that usually causes them to fail is hubris, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like they take their eye off the ball because they think that they are bigger than the ball.
Yeah.
You know,
Arrogance.
that's why it's it's why most air accidents or human error. Pilots, that like, dude, there was this guy named Snodgrass was his last name, and he was heralded as one of the best pilots ever. He did a lot of air shows. He was an F-14 pilot. I think he flew the F-14 demo team, like after, like not Air Force sanctioned. Like I think
Yeah, yeah,
there was
like
an
the
F-14
the air
that he
show
flew,
stuff.
but he died in a and my sister and brother-in-law knew him because my brother-in-law was the flight chief for the Viper East F-16 demo team, so they would see each other at air shows and whatnot. Um, and this gentleman passed away. I think it was a couple of years ago in a prop plane at an air show, um, because he simply forgot to remove in his pre-flight check, forgot to remove this bar that kept the ailerons from working. And he took off, went up, and then he couldn't steer the plane, and it just dove right into the ground, and that was it. And I, human error, right? I think he was probably really comfortable with himself. It was a mistake. I'm not saying that he was like, oh, I'm the best or anything, but it was just,
Yeah.
it's at some point he got complacent about what he was doing. Um,
Like
and so
Icarus. Yeah.
flew too close to the sun,
Yeah.
you know? Uh, uh, so I just think that if we're looking for leaders to be, I don't know if that's even what you're talking about. I think you're talking more like, is that what you're talking about? Like downfall, meaning like hard downfall stuff,
Yeah,
right?
like hard downfall. I mean, the question, the message that came in was basically what are our thoughts on his famous historical leaders and what led to their downfalls?
Well, I mean, you look at the czars of Russia, right? Like most of the czars of Russia were, uh, were pretty good leaders, right? I mean, they had
Yeah.
to lead the people, but then you get to Nicholas, and everyone, you hear the story of Anastasia and all this stuff, and Rasputin, and uh, you know,
Rasputin's fascinating.
yeah, but the fact that, like, the story that's always told, and it is tragic. I mean, it's is the kids were killed and the whole family was killed, but what the story that doesn't get told very often is uh how Nicholas didn't really care about the people. Like he had stopped caring about the people, and he was all about himself, and it was all this hubris, and it caused the people to rise up. Now, what came out of that wasn't great either, but uh, and probably worse than what they had before. But if he had been a better leader and been a leader of the people, an actual leader instead of just being a king or a czar, he might, his family might have survived. We might not have ever had communist
Yeah.
Russia,
What I love
USSR.
about that leadership stuff, like when Washington forged the Delaware River, had he failed and died and whatever,
Yeah.
where would we be today? It's like I like leaders that have like this crazy idea that fully believe in the success rate of it, and we're going to push through and do it, even if they might fail or get killed or whatever. Like for me, I think that I gravitate to those type of leaders that aren't afraid to fail.
Hmm.
Like it's just that type of stuff right there. Or like with a Napoleon with the elephants, the Alps.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, a bunch of these guys would do like this. I think it was the Punic Wars. It had to have been
Okay.
Alexandria and Napoleon. I always get those two confused because they're like super tiny.
Yeah.
Uh, but one of them took like this route through the Alps with elephants, and like his other bosses or like his under generals and stuff were like, we're gonna lose too many men, animals, food, like all this stuff. And he's like, no, we're gonna go through. And it actually helped him in the war because he cut off enough time to get to the next pass. But he was willing to lose half or whatever percentage of his people for the greater good. It's like to be a leader to make that decision where it could turn terribly wrong.
Yeah. I, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know which one. I guess it's great to learn from all things, but I guess I would say unfortunately, you know, the ones that we hear about more often are the ones that ended in utter defeat. You don't really hear about too often the mistakes that leaders make who win,
No,
you know.
Cussler is the one that,
Custer?
yeah, Custer.
Yeah. Yeah. Like hubris though, right?
Oh,
Like he had it all
jeez.
figured out. Uh and also, man, what's your mission, right? I mean, I don't uh I think a couple of weeks ago we touched a little bit like lightly on, we're talking about Lewis and Clark, and we touched
Yep.
lightly on American Indians and that sort of thing. But I mean, Custer's, granted he's military, he's just doing his thing, he's doing what he's told to do, but his mission wasn't necessarily that noble. So,
Right.
you know, I don't know if there's some karma that played into that as well. But yeah, I mean, he thought he had it all figured out. He's done this, I know what I'm doing, and he ends up getting surrounded. Uh, you look
Like
at
I know we had spent time this past year at the Alamo. You and I did that little tour,
mhm.
and we got to see like this really cool diagram and video highlighting, narrated by Phil Collins, which
So if anybody doesn't know, because I
he-
did not know this, the largest private collection of Alamo
artifact,
memorabilia
yeah,
and artifacts
artifacts,
is owned by Phil Collins, the
yes,
singer.
in the air tonight, baby.
And yeah, and so at the Alamo, if you go to the museum there, he's narrating. It's the weirdest thing because it's like this big piece of Americana, and
A
like the,
British
the
drummer.
Alamo. Yeah, and this British guy's, "Hello, I'm Phil Collins." Blah 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 blah, and it's like, this is weird. This is
So
strange.
Eric and I are listening to this thing. It's super fascinating because it breaks down the day the Alamo fell and where people died and all this stuff with Jim Bowie and Davy Crockett type stuff. But I guess my question to you, Eric, the leaders or the perceived leaders at the Alamo or a situation like that, in hindsight, would they have done the same thing? Or like, what
Well, I
point did
don't
they
think
finally
so. No,
realize?
I don't think so. I mean, I think they probably would have
Yeah,
not,
but
if they could go back and look at it and go, okay, well, we obviously fucked this up. So,
what was the other option then? Like, that's why, like,
well, when things are happening in real time, you're just making decisions, and you can only plan, so much. Uh one of my favorite sayings is Eisenhower, right? Famous general, said uh planning is essential, but plans are useless. you know
yeah,
and so that's the Alamo. They had done planning. Remember,
oh yeah.
they tried to have all the everything covered and everything else, but it just didn't work out for them in that moment. They were outgunned, outmanned, you know. And
But so what's the difference? I guess the question for you is what is the difference between who's this like historians can look at that and be like, oh, this is the diaries they found. They just kind of put together what kind of happened. But who's to say there's not someone they're like, these guys were terrible leaders. Why'd they do this? Because they died
Oh, well,
heroes. No one questions their
well,
actions because,
well, yeah, they did die heroes because they they fell on their swords, so to speak. Not fell on their swords. That's not the right thing. They went down with the ship,
yeah,
right? And for better or worse, I think history will tend to smile on those types of people better than if they had surrendered. You know,
gotcha. Yeah, no,
I
that makes
mean,
sense.
if they had surrendered at the Alamo and they were all hanged, I think there wouldn't be this mystique about. I don't even know if we know about the Alamo.
Correct.
Like I don't, it just wouldn't even be a thing.
Yeah.
Uh, so um, yeah, I mean, this. Well, I don't know, man. I think military historians are pretty harsh on people who, who make make poor decisions. Uh, for as much as I love military history and stuff, I'm kind of blanking on this right now. I'm trying to think of a really good example of something.
How
Uh,
about the storm of the beach of the Normandy? Was that the only at the time? Was that the only way to advance through that beachfront up into the?
you mean physically the only way?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, no, because the shortest. So what they did with that, this is a really smart thing that really great leadership with Eisenhower, um, and I think it was Montgomery, right? Montgomery
Montgomery.
from
Yeah,
from I think he was he was involved in D-Day as well. I know he was very active in the African. I read a book on Rommel once, and I'm fascinated with Rommel, even as a German general, but I'm
is
he's
that the Zulu stuff?
super fascinating. Oh, he was just the African campaign uh
Got it.
in World War II, Northern Africa. Uh the desert, they call him the Desert Fox. So um but we can touch on that in a minute. And then there's some hubris in that too, where he got himself into a situation where he thought, he underestimated the British and Americans. But but with D-Day, the closest crossing is Calais, right, where the ferries run now.
Oh,
And so um that's where Hitler thought that the forces were going to cross, and they were going to cross at Calais because it would, it was the shortest distance.
yep.
And so what they did was uh the Allied forces created a fake army of blow up tanks, like literally inflatable tanks, inflatable jeeps,
Where's the movie on this?
cardboard cutout
Like Blazing Saddles.
soldiers,
Yeah.
because in case someone flew over and saw, there was no satellites or anything like that, but they people could do they would do flyovers, right, for spy, and so they took pictures of this.
Encampment.
Yeah, and it looks like there's this giant force getting ready to come across Calais, where instead they went out and around the channel,
Yep.
up the coast, and it was the least likely place for an invasion to come from. Uh, that ended up working out really well. I mean, it wasn't easy or anything, but um, so yeah, I think you know, that was awesome, right? I mean, that was good decision making. Uh, Man, you need to get Justin Press on here to talk about this stuff. He knows way more about
Oh,
this
he
stuff
loves
than
all this
well, he
stuff.
he knows way more about it than I do. I'm into it. Like I've read books, man, but for some reason I can't pull anything right now. Uh, congratulations, yeah. Surprise, everyone! You get a this is the episode you get today. My brain's not working. Uh, but yeah, man, I don't know. What do you think about it? Where are you at with it? With like, can you think of? I mean, look, Washington. I mean, Valley Forge was a
Yeah.
disaster, right? I mean, it was a
Correct.
disaster,
Yeah.
and it could have gone.
Even worse.
Yeah, could have gone even worse. So, uh,
If you
there's
were to put people like Washington, Eisenhower, Patton, Lincoln, not Lincoln. I'm not going to say. Obviously he was involved in a big war, but people like that, military backgrounds, leaderships, you put them in a circle like this round table, and the mission is to figure out hey, we got to work together to do this. If you're in a room full of leaders or perceived leaders, who acts as the actual leader? Like, is a good leader someone that allows someone else to lead, or is a good leader someone that takes the lead in a room full of leaders because they think they have the best idea? Like, how do you kind of like? Because I've always kind of pictured like when
I mean, man,
they do like those movie like best picture year every year. They get all the directors around the table, or all the lead actors or actresses, and they talk about their career. And at the time, those people around the table, they're the best at their craft, best actor that year, talking about what they do. If we were
yeah.
to put these leaders around a table based on their best 5 years as a president, a world leader, a general, who decides? Like, would some of these people? Would you look at them from if we could view them from above and be like, well, actually, Washington was maybe he wasn't a good leader because he's not able to list other ideas, or maybe he is a great leader because he took other people's ideas, figured out the best solution, and then took charge of it. Like, how do you?
I personally would want, I mean, you have to have a track record. Like you have to show that you're, but obviously if you're in that place,
Yeah,
if you're in that room, you've proven yourself to be
correct.
worthy, right?
You save
So
lives.
so
You've
so so that being understood, like I don't have, none of these people have anything to prove.
no.
Like if I'm picking the leader, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like
Like
how do?
hypothetical. Okay. So I'm going to look for, I'm going to look for for the person who's the most reluctant to want to be the leader,
Interesting.
right? I think
A quiet person.
right. I think that there's just something about that, man. The person who will take the responsibility if it's handed to them, but doesn't necessarily want it. But will, again, these people are proven, so they're obviously good at what they do. And it's also situational. Like, what are we trying to accomplish? Like, what's the goal? What's the mission? Uh, Picking the person who is it is it something where we need to think more diplomatically than, or is it something where we need to go in with guns blazing or something? That's going to, if it's something that requires uh uh not only thought about the battlefield but thought about the stuff on the periphery, then maybe somebody like an Eisenhower is what you want. If it's a guns blazing military strategy, Patton is probably your guy.
Yeah.
You know, um, but uh, again, man, if it is a, like, if I'm picking out of this room of people and it's like, okay, I need, we're picking someone to lead an entire,
A front, just a whole entire
and
nation.
the entire thing.
Yeah.
I go back to Washington, man. Washington didn't want to be president.
No, he
You
felt it
know,
was his. Yeah.
he didn't want it. But he said that if you all pick me, I will humbly accept it and I will do my job. But you know, but I don't want it. And um, I don't know, man. That to me is a great quality in a leader, is
It,
someone who will humbly accept the responsibility, but and do a really good job. But it's not they, their ambition. That takes the personal ambition out of it.
a couple episodes ago, you had talked about kind of a little bit like Marcus Aurelius. But
Hmm.
when you look at like the papers of like him or Seneca or Shank's Art of War,
Yep.
all these historical famous tactical type writings, it's interesting how generations of leadership from Washington to Patton to whoever like through the line has
Yeah.
read the same papers at one time, I would assume,
Yep.
and interpreted what they did, what that version of what Seneca was saying, how they interpreted it to become a leader they were. And that's
So
what's just fascinating to me.
there's one thing, there's one thread that runs through the middle of all of those things you just said. Uh, the really famous leaders throughout time, and I'm not. This is too broad because I'm already thinking of examples that maybe are going to contradict what I'm saying. But the beloved leaders, right? That's maybe a better way of putting it, because you mentioned, or you mentioned Seneca was a Stoic, right? Not really sure a
Yeah.
leader, but uh, Marcus Aurelius,
Sun Tzu.
yeah, Shin, how do you say it?
Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu, yeah,
Sun Tzu.
the Art of
Yeah.
War.
Yep.
Something that runs through all of those, the Stoics and those types of people is this humble nature. This thing of uh, the reason why their wisdom is so important is because they realize that hubris is the it can is going to be the downfall if you get too cocky. I mean, the art of war. I mean, that's you know, it's all about uh, self-reflection and uh, knowing yourself first.
Yep.
And knowing your enemy, but you have to know yourself. And uh, so I love the fact that there's this humble thing about it. And I guess maybe that's what I was getting to by when I was talking about picking a leader who doesn't want the job. It's that uh it's the sum of the parts are greater than the individual,
Do you find
you
it
know.
weird? Like, obviously, when you and I were going through high school, grade school, middle school, all that high school, all that shit, we'd learn about these old papers. But
Hmm.
when our kids are in school, are they going to be learning the same leadership papers, the same historical things? So, like, who are the
I
what?
don't think I don't think
It's
they are
weird, right?
already. Yeah, I think that kind of stuff's changed already. I mean,
And why
uh
is that? Is it just because the definition of what that stuff meant, or is
it,
it?
it I hate to keep beating a dead horse, man. It's hubris, right? It's that stuff's unimportant now. That's
God,
old.
it's
That's old stuff, and it doesn't matter anymore.
yeah,
Our world now is we're so much. I'm saying this speaking from their viewpoint. We're so much more advanced now, and we have technology, and it's you know, and so therefore we are obviously more wise and more important, and than someone who lived 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Those little peons didn't understand anything, and we've got it all figured out now. And that's how we've ended up in the place we're in now. It's you know, it's something you hear is beat into the ground now, but it's so true is that, you know, history will repeat itself, you know, or it, it will echo, it will come back if you don't pay attention to how you got there in the first place. And
yeah.
I mean, look, man, you look at some of the stuff that's going on now in our government and in our society, and it is very reminiscent of some of the darkest beginnings of some of the darkest times in human history.
Look how beautiful the Constitution is and how well it was written, and now they are currently trying to just
Oh yeah.
change it, replace it, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But again, I think a lot of that is personal gain, right? I mean,
Well, of
at the
course,
end of the
it's
day,
yeah,
it's disguised as for the people,
yeah,
but it
but
really
it
it's
behooves this group of people to
right. Yeah, I'm just going to change the Constitution just to get what I want and and appear, altruistic in the process. So, yeah, I mean, that's just something that I don't think Americans understand is how valuable that document is because, you know, right now, someone, it might look as though if we just undo this one little piece of it, that it'll be better for society as a whole. But that one side might think that, right? But that's until it comes for them. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, you remove that little piece, and eventually it's going to come back on you, and it will come for you. And so that's just not something that should be toyed with, man. And look, it has been used as a bad thing too. I mean, look at the income tax. Look at the IRS. That was you know an amendment to the Constitution that was added, and now look at us. We're
ugh,
taxed to death. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. It's
fascinating.
yeah, I wish I had better answers for you, man, on this leadership thing on world leaders. Maybe I should do some more research and brush up on this stuff, and maybe we can have another discussion on it that will be a little more interesting
Yeah, well, I just
than
like that
this one
people
is.
are actually submitting stuff for us. I mean, some of the
I feel
topics,
like I let him down on this one. I'm like, I don't know. I don't. That's difficult, man. Like past world politics and thinking about leaders and mistakes and uh you know
like, could you imagine like Washington? I mean, Lincoln would be literally rolling around his grave with like all like the race politics in this day and age. But
yeah.
like, could like a leader for me, like I don't know if yes, they're successful in their time and their setting and what they that part of history, but a good leader should be able to transcend time and place and be a leader, effective leader, no matter what. At least I think in a given situation.
Well, yeah, it's difficult though because if you were to take Lincoln and put him in this world right now,
Could
he
you
would be
imagine?
he'd be so confused by
He
all the
would have
world
gone.
all
He
the
would have
world
gone to a
politics.
play much quicker.
Yeah, yeah. He'd be so confused by the world politics that play into our national politics that and uh just the society is so different. So and then so you say, okay, well, just say Abraham Lincoln, was born in the 70s and he's come up in this, but then it wouldn't be Abraham Lincoln, right? It wouldn't even be the same person. So it's kind of hard to and honestly, man, I think that like even some of these, if you take certain groups, uh, whether it's uh let's just say like if you're a hardcore liberal, if you look back through time, who are some of their heroes? Like FDR, uh, Kennedy,
Yeah.
some of these people that are held up, they're deified, right? And you look at the right, and you have people like and Reagan and
Yeah.
Reagan, they hold up and deify. I think that if you and look, man, if you look at the African American community, someone like Martin Luther King, you bring them into now,
Oh,
and uh, I think that politics and so- you know societal problems are at a point now where even those people would be sort of downcast by the groups that hold them up. Like you bring, they wouldn't be enough right
right.
now. Like if you bring Reagan in right now, he wouldn't be MAGA enough, or if you bring Kennedy in, he's not going to be woke
Woke
enough.
enough. Yeah.
Uh, if you brought Martin Luther King here now, he's going to be seen probably as a too passive, and inert because of that. Uh, so just you know, I think you're made for a certain time and a certain place, and you rise to your moment in that time and in that place, and man, I don't see anybody like those individuals anymore
Right.
around me. Like I don't see anyone who's going to go down in history as a legend, at least not yet. They haven't appeared, and
Yeah.
I don't know if
And even the
because
ones that could
because here's
be.
the because
Yeah.
here's the thing though, like no matter what side you're on, like at least I look at it, from where I sit, and I can look at all of those
Half. Yeah.
well, I can look at all those individuals that I just mentioned, and I can find qualities in each one of them, right? But we're at a place now where no one can see qualities in someone else who's on the other side. They're incapable of it. Some people are incapable of
Yeah.
it. I would say most of the population, we've been so divided on purpose that, no one can find any qualities in, someone on the opposite side from them of kind of any issue. Everything's so polarized. So I don't know if there's anyone who that I see now who's going to go down in history as you know like a FDR or Reagan or a Kennedy or a Martin
Right.
Luther King Jr. or a Malcolm X or you know
Yeah,
I,
like
I just
who are those type of people? Like who are like there's no one here. They throw out the Greta Thunbergs and the David Hoggs and like all these people. They're just forcing these people like Malcolm X and MLK and Harvey Milk, like those type of people that like kind of they stood up to what they believed in what they believed in,
yep
and they literally died for what they believed in, but they never the public never thrusted them. No organization thrusted them to be these people. They just stood up and said, enough is enough. Let's do what we
yeah
have to do to whatever. Now, you might want to disagree or agree with a lot of things some of those people I mentioned. But end of the day, they were not forced up there in a day where we got David Hogg or Greta or these people that don't want to be put in these positions yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, man, now it's just whoever has the most uh hardline take and who is the loudest.
Right, like on both sides, it's just
Yeah,
dumb.
that's all it is. There is no one's looking to bring anybody together. They're just looking to be the loudest person on their side. And
Like to your point, I was with a couple of friends the other day, and like a bunch of us are conservative like me, and some other people are old school Democrat. And so
right.
the one of the guys was like, we're just bitching about like the open border stuff. They're like, how
Mhm.
what the fuck's going? This is crazy. And then the friend that was Democrat, hardline old school Democrat, was just like said it, and we're agreeing. This other liberal type leading person looked at my friend and goes, "Oh, looks like the MAGA got another one for their army."
Like
And
that's not
correct,
a
but like, it's
right.
just funny to your point how they just kind of were like they perceive if you want a closed border, you have to be Team Trump.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, we talked about this on one of the other
yeah, a
episodes, I
couple
think
episodes ago.
briefly, you know, and again, man, you know, the that's a really good example because I'm a very down the middle person,
Yeah,
you know, and uh but I can look at the fact that we have a wide open
correct.
un unchecked border um as a threat, not again. And just because I just said that, someone can take that and go, "Oh, this guy's a racist," and he's it's like,
Correct.
no, 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 no. Don't get me wrong, you know. But it is a threat to have an open, unchecked
Yeah,
funnel of people to the tune of 280 million, 280,000 people a month coming in here. And uh, something that was very interesting, man, is a stat that the Border Patrol or the I guess it's not the Border Patrol, but what's the border
border CBP, the Customs Border
yeah,
Protection.
Custom and Border
Yep.
Protection put up that in 2022, this might have been 21 to 22, but I think it was 22 to 23. In 2022, there were and this is what they took count of. There were 5,000 Chinese nationals that came across the border in 2022. In 2023, it was 30,000. That some of them looking for a better life, sure. All of them looking, and the other thing was that it was something astonishing, like 85% were male, like military age male. It's just I find that odd, you know, and so um but again, to your point about that is that viewpoint doesn't make me MAGA,
Correct.
you know, or whatever you perceive MAGA is. I don't even know what that is anymore.
It's just a
You know,
talk. It's
it's
just
just
dumb. The
it's
color red scares
what's
people.
yeah. But I mean, I just, you know, like, look, if you are a, if you are so into Trump that you can't think any other way than that, then you're in a cult.
You are a
You
cult.
know,
You're James Jones.
you're in a
Jim
cult.
Jones. Yeah.
Jim Jones. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, you need probably need some,
Correct.
you know, probably need to reevaluate yourself a bit, you know, and if you are 1,000% bought and sold on something left wing, and anything that comes out of the media's mouth is you're in lockstep with it. And you know, what was that meme that says I I I support the new thing, whatever, what is it, I support the,
Uh,
you know, I support the
uh,
latest thing or something. And it's like whatever the media is telling you to care about, you care about. You're in a
yeah.
cult, you know, you're also in a cult.
Right.
And so I implore people to if you want to save, you want to save your respective countries, and you know you're in a place where you have democratic seemingly democratic or you know a democracy or a republic or something, is to look into each individual person and what they're about, because I don't ever just check red, like R Republican on everything. I check every time I go in to vote. It's you know, I don't vote down Democrat or Republican. I each person, I don't care what your the letter is beside your name. It's what do you believe in? What are you trying to do here? What is your
Right.
platform? And that's how it should be. So I just happen to be, you know, someone who, you know, look, man, you know, I have views depending on who I'm talking to, the other person, they think that I'm wildly one way or the other on the
Yeah.
on the political spectrum, and that's how it should be. It should be like that. I should, I think
Keep them
everyone.
guessing.
Man, it's look, I think that if you know, in order, one thing that happens with the border argument, and again, I'm not trying to, I not trying to piss anybody off here, but you know, one thing that we're told is that we don't care about people if we say that we think the border should be checked. I mean, not even I'm not saying shut down the border. I'm
No,
saying
do it legally.
make sure no one can come just walk
Right.
in, and all of those people can go through a system. And I'm not saying that system isn't overly complicated at this point, because
It's
from what
definitely
from
flawed.
what I understand, it's way overly complicated. But we can't help people. We're going to get to a point that we're not going to be able to help anyone anymore, because we're going to become you know either overrun, or we're going to become we're going to get invaded from the inside or something. And in order to be able to give people a place that they want to go for a better life, there has to be rules and regulations for that. uh you know that's just the bottom line. That's just how I feel about it. I
Yeah,
love.
I've got a friend that's doing he's in America, but he's doing the process for like a 6 to 8 month process for like a visa
Yeah,
to be in America. It's like he's just joking, going, dude, I've served my country and I'm doing this the right way, but I might as well just fly down to Nicaragua or just walk up and through just cross through and
yeah,
be, here's your debit cards, here's your.
yeah,
At what point do you starting to punish the people that are actually doing this the right way?
yeah. I mean, I think so, man. And it's again, man, like, not to beat a dead horse about it. I think I talked about it on a couple episodes ago, but it is just like nothing makes me more proud as an American. Like, fills me with so much pride is, you know, seeing someone who's come to this country, integrated into this country, started a business, has started a family, and is enjoying the fruits of being an American coming from somewhere else. That's what America is about. That is like, I wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be here, none of us would be here if it weren't for that spirit and that thing. Um, but I also don't want to lose lose the ability to give people that experience, and have it squandered because we, for political gain, which is obviously what's going on. Is our border is left open for political gain. Like,
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
yeah. People think that if we let all these people across, they're going to vote a certain way or whatever.
Yep.
You were going to squander all of that, and we're not going to be able to give people that experience anymore. So, um, again, it's a tough thing, man, because I would love for everyone all over the world to experience, you know, the freedoms that I experience on a daily basis. Um, I just don't know if it's possible for everyone on planet Earth who wants
Correct.
to experience it. Um, so yeah, it's a tough thing, man, because like, as a human being, as a I mean, dude, I as much as I say I hate people, because that's kind of a joke, like, my social uh uh you know uh whatever it's called, my gas tank, my social gas tank gets low really
Yeah.
fast normally. I guess that's a good way of putting
You're
it. But
idling on near empty every
I
social
am right
setting.
now. I am right now. Actually, my brain is not plugged in today. I apologize. But um, as much as I say that as a joking, I love people. I love the spirit of,
Yeah.
all over, and it's just I it's one of those things, man. There is no, um, I get conflicted about it. I really do. It's like, I think about it. I'm like, you know that part of me that loves people and wants to help everyone, wants to just say, yes, everyone come, and we can because honestly, man, at the end of the day, we do have enough money to, I mean, we just send it
Correct.
everywhere else all over the world. But we do have enough money to help people like that. Um, but again, man, it's like it's the fact that it's unchecked, and I worry about the consequences of it being unchecked. It's not the people, it's not the the fact they're coming from one place or another or whatever. It's who wants to do harm and who wants to do good. If
Yeah.
everyone just wanted to do good, man, it's like that would make it a lot easier. But there are those people that want to harm Americans and harm us, and we have to worry about protecting ourselves first and foremost, and so that's why the border is such a big thing for me, and why, um, because I don't know if anybody's tried to fucking get into Canada or
During
or
the
come back
pandemic, it was
or to come back into the United States from Canada.
yes,
It's
yeah.
it's wildly difficult. So and no one gives Canada shit. I mean, dude, that's like some of the like
Oh, if you're on a tour bus going through
fuck,
the
man.
border, it's your own. It's nauseating. It's
Like,
stressful because they're
yeah,
all assholes,
yeah, every single one of them.
pricks.
Yeah. So, not Canadians, but Canadian Border Patrol people.
Yeah, people in the position of power that don't. Yeah, don't even get me started on that. The whole thing needs to
Yeah,
be rechanged.
yeah. It's low status individuals that get a power trip. And by low status, I don't mean like financial status. I mean like they call low status people, meaning like they wouldn't have any. You're just handing power to somebody who gets power hungry really fast.
Right, right. Yeah,
I guess is a better way of putting it. So I've said enough things on this podcast to
yeah.
get me canceled like 4 times now.
I'm
So
into it. All good
please,
sound
please
bites.
send all concerns to hashtag cancel Eric Bass uh, at glive.com and
GLive.com/leadership/CrossFit. But it's a good
no,
one.
man.
I like it.
This is why this is fun, man, because I feel like it's again, everything is so divisive, and I feel like we can have these conversations because we don't have I harbor no
No,
resentment
I
toward
don't.
anyone or no hate toward anyone, and I just feel like we can just be honest about it. And I mean, maybe it doesn't make for the most interesting conversations, but uh, you know, it is
Yeah,
what it is, man.
no, I agree.
So next time I will either
I
try to be
can
more
I can get
awake.
press on here. We can talk. We can go down to that World War II era stuff is super
Well,
fascinating to
dude,
me.
what's crazy is like I've read a bunch of books on World War II, and I'm really interested in World War II history, and I generally know an awful lot about it. But for some reason, when you started asking about that, I'm like, I'm having a hard time, like, and again, it kind of plays into that thing of like the victors, write the history, right? So it's
Yeah,
like I'm thinking about, you know, Allied generals and stuff, and you don't hear an awful lot about their defeats or the things they didn't do right. So
yeah.
I don't know. So I feel like I dropped the ball on that one. But hey
All
man,
good.
what
I'm
can I
into
what
it.
can I what can I do?
Yeah.
They can't all be golden, man. They can't all be jewels.
Pulitzer Prize winning episodes. Yeah. Pulitzer Prize winning
They can't
episode.
all be Pulitzer Prize winning episodes. Yeah, I mean, this is the only one that hasn't been probably, but they can't all be.
This is the one that actually breaks the camel's back, and people are like, man, these guys are educated. They
Yeah,
are
I was like, I hope not.
like that bass player. He's just a historian.
Hysterian. Hysterian. Uh
Hysteria.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring those are your boys, man.
Yep.
What's it like? What's it like being on tour with Motley Crue and Def Leppard?
Just awesome. I mean, because for me, it's like I look at everyone as the same. Like I've met every world leader, every possible. Like no human would put me in awe.
Right.
And like I think honestly, for me, and I was asked this the other day, I would probably be in awe of someone like a Pat Tillman or a Johnny Cash or John Wayne, just because my upbringing and like what they mean to my life and like
Yeah, yeah.
the principles.
Yep.
So seeing those guys interacting with them backstage, and like you grow up listening to the music and the cassette tapes my uncles, my dad would give me, and the albums, and seeing them in the flash, and it's like they're just dudes, like they're just
Yeah.
humans, good and bad days. There's no ego, there's no drama. The humor is self depreciating, and like I never saw one. There's never any drama between any of those bands. Like they all just got along.
That
It,
surprises me.
yeah, like everyone do it to the point where it's like, guys, the stadium's closing. We need to get everyone out of here and go back to the hotel.
It's just because of my experience with one or two of those individuals, like I find the fact that it's no drama to be very,
No
very
drama. But
surprising.
I here's the thing: only the only couple of people to drink on that tour would have been Vince Neil. He's doing red wine now these days. And then all of Def Leppard drinks red wine, beers. Rick Allen and
Hmm,
Joe, party animals, like
really?
legendary. And so, but they're older. They got their families out, their kids out, their grandkids and stuff. So it's like there's no.
Hmm,
I mean, you look at how the pandemic now had that tour. The pandemic had not happened, and that tour went off. Or I think there would be a different. You wouldn't be as grateful to, hey, you were shut down because that stadium tour was supposed to go off right the year of the pandemic, and it got
right.
pushed off
Okay.
for 2 years.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think once that thing kind of kicked off, and you realized, hey, we almost never were able, but this might not have been possible.
Yeah.
And here we are,
Huh.
grateful for packed stadiums around the world, which we did. And so it's pretty. It was great. Good
So
laughs.
without divulging any secrets that would be detrimental, like what's the difference? What's the like if from a 500-foot view, what's the difference in running security or doing security on a tour like that and doing a security on a Shinedown tour where it's amphitheaters and and arenas versus stadiums?
The big thing with stadiums is with, I mean, on average, some of those anywhere from 42 to 75,000 people. And so anytime you have an influx of people like that, it's just not only the sheer number of bodies you need, EMS, fire, police, but now you start incorporating a lot of military assets as well, from snipers, more SWAT teams on rooftops. There's just there's a bigger chance of an impact for a mass casualty event.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just the route planning, getting the bands from the hotels to the stadium and stuff. Like I remember when I did the Fenway Park stuff, and we're getting guys hotels a couple minutes away from Fenway Park, but with the road closures and 40,000 people walking around the streets and stuff, it's like anything could pop off. Unattended bag, active shooter. So all that type of stuff kind of goes into like the placement of people, security, police.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the from a theater to a stadium, it doesn't really the same principles are in place. It's just what more do you have in your sandbox to play with? Budgets are different. A lot more money to spend on security in a stadium because you need the assets.
Right. Do you I was talking to my neighbor about this a couple of days ago. Do you keep up with weirdos like with a tour like that? Like we keep up with weirdos on
Yeah,
ours.
so
Like
I have
like just a little bit of like we have individuals who, and I'm not encouraging this, but we have
you and
individuals who
I just got another message from that same guy, different handle this morning
is that what that is?
from Ontario. Yes,
I don't know. Okay, I got this weird something going on. Yeah, okay, if that's who that
he
is.
messaged me. Then he
Uh
posted a bunch of pictures of me saying I better bow down to him or listen, or he's coming for me. So I
yeah.
reported to Instagram and blocked him. I'm like, dude,
So we get a fair amount of like quasi threatening things or just people that are obviously unhinged and whatnot.
yeah, I
But
think
but 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 I but we pay attention to it, and if I get something like that, I just send it to John normally, and we try to take care of it. But so I'm sure that stuff's going on. I mean, do you get sent that stuff the same way we
yeah.
send it?
Yeah, so the band will mention it, the social media, more the managers at that level, just because it's just so much going on. But like, I know Nikki Six has been active on talking about it, but he just had two stalkers that
Mm,
tried breaking into his house. That he's going through all this stuff now, and so like that type of stuff we're aware of. I had crew guys last year out there that got people trying to stalk them because they knew they were on this tour and trying to find the hotel rooms, all this threatening stuff, blackmail type stuff, extortion. Um, yeah, I have a
yeah,
book of every band I've worked with, from Nickelback to you guys to Motley Def, where I kind of like a just anytime I see like a username or so I'll mark down that user handle from this new account, just so I have an idea.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's just a everything's a threat these days. I mean,
Hmm.
gun to my head, I think a lot of these things, it's just mismanaged mental health that goes diagnosed off
Right.
medication. I don't think these are bad people. I
Yep.
just think,
That's what it seems like most of the time. It does
yes,
seem like someone's going off their meds or something.
but you can't, you still have to take a precautionary tale there in terms of how to kind of deal
Yeah.
with that, or at least keep eyes on it. I know when we did that run with Asking Alexandria and Papa Roach, the singer, I think Danny, no, maybe his band got an active death threat on Instagram the day before the show we were having. And we had to put all the pictures up at box office, and security and police were involved in terms of scanning people, the crowd, to make sure if this person shows up, park their bus in a different location. That way they're under the venue, away
Hmm.
from possible active shooter stuff. Next to security outside the dressing room doors, because you don't know if this person's whoever they are. So that stuff comes and goes, but you just kind of deal with it.
Yep. Yeah, I was just curious about that, man. Yeah, I've had some interesting shit going on, sort of.
I
I
think
have.
people like you attract it because, well, you guys in general shine down because you are so open about the mental health journey
Yeah,
and like
sure.
this and how you guys deal with it and how outspoken you are about seeking help and getting help and all that stuff. And I think people who are misdiagnosed and not taking the medication are actually look at that as like a Pied Piper type call to, oh, I can be crazy and say crazy stuff to these guys because they're all about it. Well, no, you're not, you should be on your medication or talk to someone because again, seeing this kid we dealt with in Toronto that just sent that message again today where it's like he shows up, he's standing in front of Zach's or Eric's side for that history. We're at the Drake's nightclub.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He's halfway through the show. Security has eyes on him. Cops know where he's at. They're sending me pictures throughout the show. They follow him to the bathroom. Halfway through the show, he just walks away. And then as we're getting the guys to the bus and stuff, they let me know, hey, he left. He literally got back on the public transportation and got out of here.
Hmm.
So it's like he says all this crazy shit, yet he only stays for half the show. Was it
Yeah.
because he knew people were onto him, or was it because
I
he's
don't
just
know.
having a
Well,
bad day?
again, man, I like to think that in my naive way, I always like to think that no one has any sort of real ill intentions,
No, I
and
it's
I look at someone like that, and my my gut instinct is to want to help them, and
yeah.
but uh there's just, when you start coming in hot with stuff, it's like I don't know if I can help you at this point.
Yeah, what
Um
the fact this guy was posting pictures of me, like bow down to me, you must listen to me, or if you don't, and then he posted another video where it's like Shinedown is the devil, and I'm just like, this is all this morning, and I'm like, well, yeah, but like,
Where's the lie? I
yeah,
don't
can
know.
we play
Yeah,
into this? Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I've had people show up at my house. I've had people. It's very
you had that
strange.
crazy guy, not crazy. I mean, I don't want to say crazy. I take that back. You had
No, no, no.
that person that showed
Yeah,
up, like
yeah,
asking where at the coffee shop. Hey,
yeah, yeah,
where's
yeah,
Eric live? Does he come in here?
yeah. Right.
It's
And
like,
I, more recently, I've had pictures of the front of my house. Like, yeah,
that's
yeah. That's interesting, right? Um, but hey, I mean, it's not like that's just sort of an unintended consequence of everything, right? Um, we just try to be as safe as you can be, and when I have had people show up, like the other studio, not where I am now, but the other studio that I had for like 15 years, people would show up over there because it was in a business park, and I guess at some point the address got out or something, and so it wasn't all the time, but it was once a month, once every 2 weeks, somebody be knocking on the door and just wanting to see the place, and you know, and sometimes I'd just be in there working by myself, and so I would we didn't have a camera system on the outside door, the outside metal door, but I'd be if I you know could hear it, like sometimes you could hear somebody banging on the metal door, and so I would just pop my head out, and it's like, and it'd be somebody would be standing there going, "It's you," and it's like,
oh,
"Yep, it's me. Hey." Which I mean, dude, honestly, at the end of the day, it's like I think about being a kid when I was younger, and the interesting thing is none of these are really kids, but at
Yeah,
the end of the,
they're
but when,
75 years old.
yeah,
Yeah.
when I was younger, uh, I remember like studios like 5150, right? Eddie
Oh
Van
yeah.
Halen's places. Like that was like, man, I'd love to see that place, and I'd love to. Now I would never have the balls to drive up to it or something. And no,
Or
that was at his
like
house anyway. But
like our
uh,
parents. Oh, Graceland. We're gonna go to
yeah, right,
Graceland.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just need to start, just need to charge, man. I just need to charge people to come tour the house, tour the studio where we make records and,
Yeah.
you know,
An amnesty box. Leave whatever you
yeah.
think you're comfortable
All right.
donating, tipping for
Yeah.
the tour.
Preferably underwear.
Preferably used panties and apple cores.
Man,
What this is a good episode. I
this has been a wild one today for
I think
me.
next time I want to start with this next episode because if I started obviously I watched the Joe Rogan podcast, the Boneyard in Alaska,
Hmm.
the gold miners. Well, today it would take too long of a talk, another hour. But the Boneyard, he posted a picture of like these plants germinating in the soil after they've excavated a bunch of stuff. And so he goes, what's crazy about these plants, like scientists and stuff, these are thawing out from the permafrost from like these are plants that grew back in the day where now that they've thawed out and got sunlight again,
We're all
they're
gonna die.
germinating.
We're all gonna die.
But how crazy is that
We're
a
all,
seed can
yeah.
be frozen and dormant, and as soon as it gets the bare essential what necessary for life, this thing that blossomed time of dinosaurs
Yeah.
is now growing in Alaska in some field. It's a wild. I was like, holy shit.
Don't worry, they'll make a vaccine for the flower. It's fine. Whatever that flower is going to do to us, we'll have a
Well, it's
vaccine for
disease
it.
X.
Okay, that's what it
Yeah.
is.
And we
Yeah.
need 75 boosters. Yeah. Awesome.
Oh
All
man.
right.
All right.
Good episode.
Yeah, man.